Happy Black History Month, my beautiful Moldiversity fam and people who designate themselves as Moldiversiacs. It is me. It is me. It is your boy Quamon Star G, and it is Friday night. We looking for a fight, and I know some of y'all are not used to us being on Friday night, but this is a special occasion. We're gonna be going long tonight. We're gonna have a lot to talk about, and we just want to just really get into the Black History Month festivities. So, without further ado, let's toss it over to my beautiful co-hosts, starting off with the judge. I wish I had a sound effect when I did that. Avia, Black History Month, Knighton.
What is up, everyone? Happy Black History Month. Even though this is our month, Black History is 365 24/7. Don't get it twisted. Do not get it twisted.
Not at all, not at
Like
all.
we always are, but this month, like, it's about to go down. And we have some very good topics that we're, talking about tonight. So let's go.
Facts on top of the facts. Now we're going to top it over to the Black History Month omnipotent one, Mr. Michael Odd Geek.
What's going on, good people? I'm excited. I hope y'all watched the little documentary, Screen Queens. It was really, really good. I can't wait to get into that and get into all the topics that we have for you today. And we also have a great month ahead of us. So be on the lookout for special things.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, for sure. And now to close it on out, we toast it over to the Black History man himself, who makes Black history every time he wakes up, just like the rest of us, Mr. Aaron Michael Johnson. No relation.
No relation. Yeah. You know what it is? It's Senior Love Daddy, going back to 89. No, y'all don't know anything about that, right? Wake up, wake up, wake up your wake. If you don't know what that's from, shame on you. Like, for real. Like, this is going to be an episode. It's good to be here for Friday Night Live. This is great. It's fun.
Yes.
This is we taking it old school.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're here. We're going to talk about a lot of things tonight. A lot of things in regards to Black media, Black mediocrity in media, and how to best avoid falling into the trappings. And we're going to be reviewing and giving our thoughts and opinions on Screen Queen's State of the Nation, the ABC special that aired last night and is currently on Hulu for those who missed out on it airing on linear television. Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. I watched a fantastic show this week, and I can't wait to give my thoughts and opinions on it. Long overdue. I've been waiting for an opportunity to watch it and talk about it, and it presented itself very, 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 very clearly. So let us start off. Which y'all, first of all, how y'all doing tonight? I haven't asked y'all that. So, but how y'all feeling tonight?
Black.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Representing. Representing HBCUs every day, all day.
Unapologetic.
The biggest
Black.
That's the biggest facts. I'm all all on board with that. So let's get into the first part of our night, our evening, our beautiful Friday evening filled with beautiful Black faces. So we all consume media, specifically Black media. And with that, it comes a lot of varied ways of it existing, right? So let's start it off with what is some of our favorite pieces of Black media? What are the pieces of Black media that really does it for us? We're gonna start it off with Avia.
As far as like film, movies, like in general.
Yeah, in general, whatever comes across your mind first or second, third, etc., etc.
Pretty much any type of Black media that pushes the boundary, that doesn't just keep us in a box like they expect us to. Like, Insecure, Abbott Elementary, pretty much all the new shows, that have come out recently, like those type. I'm very proud of the Black media that's come out recently, and I'm very proud of what Black creators are doing, and just we gotta keep pushing and keep going forward to break those barriers.
Yeah, absolutely. What say you, Aaron?
Ugh. My favorite piece of Black media is, this is gonna make me so dated, but like something about that 90s culture. Something about like the movies,
Yes.
the music, the clothing, like I mean just fashion period from Black designers, it just that 90s culture. I think that was like right compared to now, everybody's like super this, but it's something about that 90s where it was that push and pull, because that's where most of the mentalities that we have now, kind of started there, like late 80s, like 88, 89 to 99. I think that's man, them movies. Mostly Boomerang. Boomerang is like my favorite Black movie. Just
love it. Love it.
chef
And
kiss.
it's funny that you mentioned that, because then when we talk about it later, one of the people who commented in the documentary said the 90s was pretty much considered the first black film TV renaissance, because you can see their Black movies coming out like the wazoo, and their Black TV shows coming out the wazoo. Like, it made us proud to be 90s kids.
Like, what happened? That's my question.
Oh, I can tell you. Studios decided. Oh, I can tell you what happened. Studios were like, "Oh, let's take this concept of this Black show and give it to white people, and all the other Black shows that we have. Let's cut them. Let's let them go."
I'll tell you what happened. 8 Mile got. Let me stop.
Don't get him started. Don't get him started.
Somebody else go.
I'm just gonna
you next, Mike.
I would say the 90s as well. I mean, because I feel like that's when a lot of Black media was received very well. Like you said, we had a whole bunch of TV shows, a whole bunch of movies come out. I think my favorite series would be Living Single. And then I would also love, just any music that came out. I mean, it's not necessarily the 90s, but like In Vogue, like any Black female artist group like that. Those that was my jam. Like In Vogue is like one of my favorite like old school groups. But the music, 90s, I think that would be for me.
I will say one of my favorite pieces of just Black media in general, and I'll just kind of before I get into the most recent ones, just because I do want us to deep dive into some specific ones some specific favorites of ours. One of them that sticks out, and you guys hear me talk about it ad nauseum at any given point, but Into the Spider-Verse, because I don't think that it can be ignored just how significant a piece of Black media that is. It obviously shares its its cultural roots with the Latino community because of Miles's combined heritage, but the Black influence is just as loud and proud in that film, and it cannot be understated just how important it is to have kids and adults see themselves represented in such an iconic character, and so authentically, unapologetically referenced and showcased and allowed. And David Ramsey, the director, he doesn't get too much credit, even though he should, for Into the Spider-Verse. They give a lot of people give Lord and Miller credit for the film, and while I'm not going to say they had nothing to do with it or they don't deserve the credit that they get, I also 100% say that David Ramsey should get more credit, not equal, but more credit, because he absolutely And Aaron, me and Aaron have the same thought. You see in the David Ramsey film, this isn't Into the Spider-Verse isn't some Far Cry. It's not some, studio mandate where they just gave it to David and he's doing the whims of others. This is still the film that you can see his fingerprints on, his soul into. So yeah, just that for me is just the peak of it all, and still one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. Still the greatest comic book movie I've ever made, and yeah, and all of that is highly, if not completely, contributed to the authentic blackness that permeates from the film. Yes. So anybody got anything else to add about theirs individual thing? Before I ask y'all what specific piece of black media and ask y'all to get into it, because I want y'all to get into y'all brains in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I'm gonna ask y'all, what piece of black media, and I want y'all to really think about it so y'all can really deep dive and educate these people and let them know what piece of black media really just sinks into y'all brain, give y'all all of the emotions, joy, sadness, anything that the product is going for, and it gives you life. What piece of black media does that for you? We're gonna start with Avia.
Well, there's this film that came out about 2 or 3 years ago called Fast Color. And it is about this young woman played by Juju Mbatha-Raw, who has powers. And she pretty much is escaping the government trying to, track her down. And she returns to her mother, who's taking care of her daughter. And it's pretty much just her trying to come to terms with her powers, and her daughter has powers, and her mom has powers. So it's a generational thing where all 3 women have powers. And it's very grounded in storytelling. Like, it's not like this grand scale, like sci-fi type of epic thing, but it's getting there. Like, it's taking film in a direction that it needs to go for black women, because normally if it is a supernatural sci-fi type of film, we're always a supporting character. But in this one, 3 black women are the main focus, and it really is the epitome of black girl magic. And it's just Are you playing me off like an award show?
No, I'm actually adding background music. Why do y'all go for the shadiest thing for me?
Y'all know he loves this music. I don't know why y'all don't got
like I'm trying to just want to add background music to y'all talking.
Oh God,
why are y'all so hard
with that?
Why do y'all not want the background music? Why do y'all always think just the background music is dope?
But anyways, like it's a great movie, and it's definitely a start. It's definitely a great start of black female representation, specifically in sci-fi. That type of genre. And if anybody interested in it, please check it out. It is so good. It is really.
Facts. So, Avery, I got a couple of questions to you about Fast Color, because I have not seen it, but I have seen it, if that makes sense. I haven't watched it, but I've seen it in some capacity, or like being promoted or talked about. So, when did you first watch the movie? What was your first like instance of watching the film?
I read an article. This is something I'm waiting on. Yeah, let's go. Like, I'm ready for this. Yeah.
Okay, you're kind of robot-y, Avia.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, shit. So Avia is dealing with technical difficulties, but she's back. She's back. Let's go. Run one more time. So what was what was your first where did you first watch it? And this question I just asked. Who, me?
I pretty much watched it right when it came out. On VOD. Yeah, I watched it pretty much right when it came out. I'm like, yeah, this is what we need. This is what we've been missing. This is what we want. This is the type of stories that we want. And it did what it was supposed to do. It was really good.
Gave what it was supposed to give.
Yep.
What is the one thing, the hook of this film as a black film, as a creative black film? What would be the one hook that you would say would definitely get people to watch it and enjoy it?
It's the power scenes are pretty cool. The power scenes are really well done because like the first 5 minutes, like her powers go. In the black community, like mothers kind of sometimes, and just through generations of women trying to I'm froze again.
You froze for a little bit when you were giving your example, but we heard the way that black mothers, the relationship with daughters and black mothers, and within the context of the film and how that plays into the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just them just learning to be around each other again, and also using their powers, and it's great.
Factuals. So yeah, that's Fast Colors. And is it still on streaming VOD?
Oh, I don't know. I'm pretty sure you can buy it on Amazon, on the iTunes store or somewhere.
I feel like I saw it on HBO Max or Hulu. Like
it might be on streaming service. It might be on.
I think I just saw it advertised on Hulu.
Yeah, it's also on Netflix.
Factual.
It was on Netflix? All right.
If you got Netflix, if you got Hulu, go ahead and watch Fast Colors. Thank you, Avia, for that. So now we're going to move over to the man, the myth, the odd legend.
No.
Come on, this is the thing. We gotta get them into your world, in your space. So we gotta.
You are in my world. I'm sharing it with y'all.
But they gotta really feel it.
They feel it.
It would be so difficult. But that's why we love you, and that's why I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked Avia. What piece of black media gives you everything, gives you life? What piece of black media? And please share your experience with it.
I think it would be anything that any person of color that is a photographer, a writer, anything dealing with that, because as somebody who wants to write and as somebody who wants to be a photographer, seeing them be successful and seeing them be able to create and get in a space where they can have creative freedom, that gives me life. That warms my heart. That gets me emotional, because that's something that I want to do later in life. So I want to be just like those people of color that are in those spaces, that are photographers, writers, and things like that. Just like, for instance, with, I think it was one of Beyonce's shoots, she used a black photographer. So realize how that is a special moment for that person to be chosen by Beyonce to do her cover for a magazine. So that's what warms me up.
Fact. So let me ask you this, and it's kind of a tweak on what I asked Avia, but what was the first instance that really just drove you to this particular piece of media? In your case with photography, what was it that drove you to be so enamored with photography, the art of taking photos and creating narrative, a feeling with an individual picture? What gave you that feeling?
Just being able to create, like, I feel like every photographer is different. We all have different eyes, we all have different visions, and I think that's what makes it great. I always use this as an analogy, but you know that episode of Family Guy, Fairly Odd Parents, where everybody was gray. If everybody was gray, we would all be like bland and mad, but because we're different colors and we have these different personalities and different takes, it makes the world beautiful. So I look at that with being a Black creator. Like, I have a tons of photographer friends in my city, and we are all different. We all have different visions. We all have different aesthetics. So for me, it's just being able to create and just embrace the magic.
Excellente. It's an excellent. And like I said before last week, if you have made the foolish mistake of not watching anything or looking at anything Mike has done with his photography, fix that, correct that curse, and go look at the photos Mike has done. I promise you will not regret it. It's some of the best photography I've seen. And I'm so glad that that's your passion and you're enamored with that media, so you can help create in it and we can keep seeing more of it. So moving on over to the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Aaron, the Black Man Johnson.
Oh, fuck.
Oh my gosh.
Let's talk about it. What's your favorite piece of Black media? What gives you the drive, the spirit of all of the things?
A lot of people expect me to say film, but it's actually the music. Oh my gosh. If I would pin it down some more, I would say that 60s Motown, that 60 Stacks, all the way to, you know, with Atlantic Records and stuff. Like, I don't know, it's something about the music. It's something like seeing the progression from like that 40s to preface this. I'm talking about Black music. Like they said in the 80s, they didn't categorize it as R&B, it was just Black music. Something about seeing like that early teens, you know, 20s, just folksy, you know, music that came, you know, out of slavery, and then blues, and then just the way it just jumped in, like from like the doo-wop in the 50s to the 60s when everyone was like super political. I think that's just like that's my sweet spot with music, just political music by Black artists. It's something about hearing messages that talk to my soul, my spirit, you know, my very, very Black spirit. It's, you know, just hearing like Keep On Pushing from the Impressions and Fight the Power from Public Enemy, you know, everything, like damn near everything by Beyonce. It's something about that, the way the music, just the progression of everything, you know, you get like the R&B from that 70s, you know, where it's just like you can have like this really sort of rock inspired, you know, stuff, because don't get it twisted, y'all, Black people invented rock.
Factuals.
Okay, you know, okay, like y'all need to do your homework. You know, that dreamlike quality that Rolls Royce did. It just, that's why we got A&A. You know, it's just something about music, period. And I think going back to my favorite movie, Boomerang, the soundtrack of that, like that, everything that's in there, just it hits that spot in my spirit that just makes me say, ooh, that's good music. Because like PM Dawn's Die Without You, or, you know, There You Go, like just something about just black music, you know. And to go ahead and answer Q's next question, where did this come from? Where did this love of music come from? It came from those very long car rides with my family and listening to, you know, them whatever those CDs were called, you know, that Know My Brother, you got to get your own kind of CDs, where just hearing the Temptations. I mean, like, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Just hearing the music made by us and just like these people making full on stories, you know, in 3 minutes and less. Like it's amazing. You know, I think this is where it'll get really like big. If I, you know, go further, it's just like people telling stories, you know, about their own experiences, about experiences that they've just wrote up, like narratives and things like that, you know, coming straight out of your brain and your heart. And that's just amazing. You know, it's an amazing feat. And like I said, it's like decades music by Black people. It's just something you cannot recreate, no matter how hard these people have tried for so long. Like if you listen to the original Hound Dog, you know, it's 10 times better than Elvis Presley's version. Like, words can't describe it. You know, I go further, you know, like with musicals and stuff, but it's something about the work written by Black people and the instruments, you know, by like the Brothers Johnson, like all that stuff. It just nothing moves without the music. You know, let's be real.
So while I'm glad you answered the previous two questions I asked more or less to Mike and Avia, that sadly was not the question I was going to ask you.
Ooh,
however, I'm glad you asked that. What I was going to ask you is, for those who probably do not, which in my opinion aren't too many Black folks, but I'm going to ask it regardless because I don't know what you'll say, and it might be something I haven't heard or they haven't heard. But what is some pieces of Black music that you think will just ignite something within the Black soul of us?
Rock Box by Run DMC. That is, in my opinion, a starter. Anything by Rose Royce, anything by Aretha Franklin, because, you know, come on. Like Gladys Knight, you know, and the Pips, Midnight Train to Zamunda. We know what's up.
I'm sorry. I mean,
like,
I'm all like Gladys and them pimps. I mean,
okay.
Pips.
Like, it just definitely, man, I just keep going back to Rose Royce. I don't even know why. It's something about, y'all listen to Wishing Upon a Star by Rose Royce. If you do nothing else in your life, listen to that. Listen to Isaac Hayes' Walk On By. Listen to Dionne Warwick's Walk On By. Listen to anything by the Temptations, especially Cloud 9. That's a great song.
That's not your voice on Cloud 9.
Ain't nobody come to see you, Otis.
You Otis.
That's his voice on Cloud 9. That's not yours.
That's Dennis's voice. Oh, I love that we can make these references. David, I'm
that show.
Obviously, you know, even as controversial as it would be, listen to some Michael Jackson, especially Off the Wall.
Living
Great
off the
album.
wall.
Classic.
Great album.
Listen
Thriller.
to some Whitney Houston. God, yeah, Thriller. I mean,
That Preacher's Wife soundtrack I hear is a banger.
yeah, listen to the Preacher's Wife soundtrack. You know, when she's saying, I love the Lord. Listen to it. Definitely listen to some Mariah Carey, like anything by her. Janet, Miss Jackson, If You're Nasty. Like, my favorite song,
yes.
All Right. No, if y'all listen to anything, listen to All Right by Janet Jackson. That is
my
like
favorite
Swing.
album.
All right.
Okay.
No, listen to Escapade. Listen to Rhythm Nation.
Escapade.
Rhythm Nation.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Double classic.
Yes, Rhythm Nation.
Rhythm Nation.
One of the all-time greatest pop period music
Right.
videos of all time. It's literally amazing. But yeah,
I mean, also listen to Dr. Luke. I Wanna Rock, cause that's my shit. I will bombard this show with clips from this 92 K-Watt TV thing one day. God, listen to anything. It's like, especially the Isley Brothers. Like, kid, you know, let me say really quick, if you love the Beatles, you'll love the Isley Brothers because they're the originals. Everything that got their career started with the Beatles, it came from the Isley Brothers albums.
Yes.
Especially
Touch
Twist
me,
and Shout.
baby.
Oh my
Drive
God,
me
that's my shit.
crazy. Give me what you got.
Yeah, I mean, like the fact that Footsteps in the Dark and In Between the Sheets are like the most sampled stuff. So yeah, definitely listen to some Biggie Smalls, listen to Tupac, listen to Lil Kim, listen to your Beyonce. But listen to I could get in like some comedy albums, but that's going further. Listen to some New Edition. Listen, like anything by New Edition. My God, y'all. Like I could literally sit here and name tons of music. Don't make me do this.
Let's
soundtrack now.
Let's listen to the Chris. Since we're talking about comedy albums, let's listen to No Sex in the Champagne Room.
No Sex in the Champagne Room. Like, man, like listen to we're gonna do that. Listen to Richard Pryor.
Thanks, Daddy-O, for giving us this. Let me put us all on the screen for this one.
Yes.
Because as we see all your comments, you guys are all goated. But thank you, Dad, for saying that.
That's
you holds the spark that this generation needs to get out of this carbon copy era.
Period.
Yes, indeed. So, anything else, Aaron, that you would like to say about the music media before I go?
Listen to Queen Latifah.
Facts. The OG.
Yeah, God.
Yes.
Yep.
Like the OG triple threat. Like the OG triple threat.
Yep. Period.
So I guess I'll go with this, and since folks are pointing it out, so I'm gonna say that this is favorite because of recency. So over the last 4 days, in fact, I have watched the Watchmen television series that came out 3 years ago on HBO Max, starring Regina King. And for those who don't know, it is a sequel television show to the original Alan Moore comic. But what makes it so groundbreaking, unique, and basically a masterpiece in my mind is that rather than do what basically anybody else probably would have done if they were in that position and try to make it this commentary on the book / a continuation of its themes, it basically is the greatest Black God, there's so many things I can categorize it in and it fits, but basically it is the best example of how to tackle Black superheroes and that concept alone, and what it means for the Black community in facing its history, this country's history of racism ever made, in my opinion. And this is somebody who's seen Luke Cage and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, who both tackle these themes, but they don't come close to what transpired in the show. It literally starts off, and I know I'm probably preaching to the choir because y'all probably seen it as it aired, but I'm gonna still say it because it's just so important that the show starts off with the Tulsa, Oklahoma Black Wall Street bombings. And that to me is so powerful because of how not only it didn't pull any punches, but it put a spotlight on one of the forgotten atrocities that happened to Black Americans. That show brought a lot of eyes to that moment in time. And for those who don't know what that is, that's essentially KKK came into Tulsa, Oklahoma and burnt it to the ground because Tulsa at the time was a haven of Black opulence and excellence, and racists can't stand that, and they chose to burn it to the ground. And it starts with this little black boy watching a silent movie about a black marshal, U.S. Marshal, basically enacting the justice. You know, the phrase he said at the end of it, in the name of the movie, is trust in the law. And what stuck with me, and I guess this, you know, it was meant to watch it now because I have a nephew where I can see little black children reflected in him more than I could if I put myself when I was younger into it. And seeing somebody that looks like him watching what more or less is a superhero film, and him being detached from the horrors, and then after that he's thrust into it, and you see all of the stuff happening in the street and how this moves the series, how this one moment defines not just the series but more or less the entirety of the Watchmen canon, and how that ties into Regina King's character, who is, as the series progresses, spoilers, is revealed to be his granddaughter, and how both of their lives play symmetry to each other, from their origin, their trauma, how they go about being, you know, handing out justice. And yes, you got the Watchmen characters from the original comic book. They play a part into it because of course they would. But what I appreciate this show doing is treating them like secondary characters, because the concept of this Tulsa, what happened in Tulsa, being the impetus for, you know, reparations to come to the descendants, that's a major plot point. You know, how the police, you know, and the KKK and this big conspiracy to enact their will onto people, and how you have white people who pretend to be these allies to black folks only to secretly plot against them, and not being ambiguous, just straight up saying, yeah, these are KKK, this is the KKK. And actually, unlike some DC shows, actually treating these entities as something serious, something that wants to hurt black folks, and something that is to be looked at with contempt and not just played for laughs. And at every conceivable turn, it just kept me enthralled, and it just broke my heart. It made me angry. It made me happy and made me think. And I selfishly want more, but accept that it was a one and done. Y'all got any questions for me about it?
What? How did you feel about Dr. Manhattan? Because that was my favorite thing. So how did you feel about that?
So, for those who don't know, Dr. Manhattan is a black guy in the show, but he's not. They don't say he was always a black guy. They make it apparent. They make it unambiguous that he's white. He was white before, but after meeting Regina King's character, he decides to take on the form of a black man. And I'm going to be very honest about my overall feelings about Dr. Manhattan and Watchmen as a whole. I feel like it is a misinterpreted piece of fiction that a lot of people fundamentally don't understand. And I put that at the feet of the writer. But I feel like with this Watchmen, they did enough to basically correct things. And I think putting a black man as Dr. Manhattan was the right choice, simply because not only the thought of a black man being the most powerful entity in existence, not only does that, you know, carry a lot of weight with the overall themes of the story, but also when he's not John, he's Calvin, Regina King's husband, you know, there's a lot of warmth and understanding and humanity which, you know, for those who knows Dr. Manhattan, his thing is that he's not human. He foregone any human interaction and anything. So to see him regain his humanity through love of this black woman, I felt is strong. I felt like that's powerful. You know, I feel like that again plays to something that I call the okay, now black people are involved mentality. That, you know, the core of Watchmen is that you're watching a bunch of morally bankrupt superheroes basically fail, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you're just focused in on these set of events because you're reading a comic book and you can only go back and forward. That's the hook. That's the one thing everybody can agree on about Watchmen. But what the show does is go, yeah, but black people. And when you introduce these concepts to that story, you have something larger. You now have to look at these things from a larger sense. And now you have to accept that what was presented before truly is unimportant, because now there are things that matter more and have more oomph to it. If that makes any sense. If that's answered your question, I hope I did, Mike.
Yes, it did answer my question.
Was it a good answer? Was it a bad answer?
It was a trash ass answer, and I was playing. It was a good answer.
Thanks. Anybody else?
Ooh, do I get to ask the V question?
Yes.
Am I allowed that V question yet?
Avi, do you have anything?
It depends. Eric, what's your deep?
No. You should ask your question.
How did you think they portrayed Regina King's character, the black female lead? How did you think they portrayed her? Do you think it was?
It was excellent. It was excellent. It makes the most sense for Regina King to be that character because, you know, most black women her age that are into nerds, quote unquote nerd stuff, action stuff, blaxploitation, the Pam Grier era of Cleopatra Jones, Foxy Brown, of course that would inspire her and whatnot. And she's no nonsense. She's an ass kicker. She's, you know, still somebody that cares deeply, because that is, again, the parallels to her and her grandfather as the story goes on. And furthermore, you know, her just how god dang smart and ahead of the curve she was at every turn. Like it was truly awesome. Just going back and thinking about just going back and thinking about the events of the show, how everything was like, how the only thing that was a surprise to her was things involving her family, but everything else within the context she was on point with. Obviously she knew who Agent Blake was because her and John would have had those conversations, and, you know, things of that manner, and just how she was unfazed and was prepared. I loved it. And I selfishly want some brave comic book writer or artist to just do a Sister Night Dr. Manhattan miniseries and just give us what we want, because that's what I want. And she was awesome.
Yeah, I definitely would love like a comic book run for her. I would love that.
Well, I'll get on that.
So go ahead and ask the $1 billion question that I have no idea you're going to ask it.
Okay. So you mentioned how this was one of the great modern pieces of black media.
Yes.
However, this was created by Damon Lindelof.
Yes.
So this was made by arguably, you know, his mother's Jewish, his father's Scandinavian, you know, white adjacent man. When it's made by somebody who is not black and they make essentially black media, do you still consider this black media?
That is a perfect question, and we can expound on that because there are other examples of that, you know, type of content out there. And the word that I would throw out, and I throw this out to many things in many different situations, but the word that comes out is sincerity. How much sincerity is in this product? Is this something that is meant to properly illustrate certain aspects of Black culture, or is it trying to take advantage of Black culture to tell a story? With Damon Lindelof, who I know he did The Leftovers. I think that's the other show he did.
Yeah.
About folks who still are on Earth after the rapture. So I know he's not a Negro. I know he's like a white man. But what I can say is this, as a person who has no idea about the general production of the show, but simply having Regina King attached tells me that there was a level of discussion that had to have taken place for these things to happen. There was nothing gratuitous. I mean, I don't want to say watching massacres isn't gratuitous, or watching, lynchings isn't gratuitous. I don't know if that's the proper nomenclature to take away, because I don't want to take away the severity of those things. But what I will say is that it didn't feel hollow. It didn't seem like it was just slapped in there it didn't feel like it was just slapped in there with no context or no real, like to just check a box. There's the thing. It felt like it was there. People were it was a discussion around it, and how could it be conveyed to gain the emotion out of it. And I'll say that you always, in my opinion, you always have to look at these things case by case. You can't just go in there thinking that, you can't just step out on faith with these things. I hate to say it when it's a situation like a white creator handling a Black story. You get movies like The Green Book when shit like that happens. You have to hold people accountable, and more importantly, the people doing it have to hold themselves accountable that they are handling precious cargo. They're handling stories that are still fresh in the zeitgeist and the mind of people, Black folks who would watch it. When you talk about civil rights, you have to understand that a large chunk of our community, our elders, have very much still have that fresh in their mind. When you talk about things like the 80s crack epidemic, you still have to understand there are people that still have that fresh in their mind. The LA riots of the 90s still fresh in their mind, especially now when you have allegories like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin, all of these things. You have to understand, if you're going to tackle that as a white creator, that these are things still fresh in people's mind. And you cannot, and I fucking repeat it, you cannot ever do things like Black Lightning, where you literally try to show the situation and then so haphazardly have Black Lightning stop it like that's something groundbreaking. No, that is pretty goddamn traumatizing, considering at the time it's fresh. It's not far enough in people's mind where it's something that is comfortable recreating. You're not accomplishing anything. You're not adding anything to the conversation. You're basically immediately reminding folks of this trauma that is still going on. So I feel like there needs to be sincerity from the creators, and there needs to have a constant discussion as it's being created to make sure that the tone and the emotions are right. And the people outside who are going to be consuming it need to hold the creator accountable, while the creator holds themselves accountable, be open to discussion, and make sure that they're doing right by these individuals.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Raya got she had this. I'm sorry if she had this to say. I often feel like Black stories from the non-black POV come off as voyeuristic and focus more on a white saviorism.
Yep.
I don't know where a balance exists without including Black voices in the creative process. Factuals. So now that I've said that, we can largely as a group discuss this topic. So, Ivy, I know you had a point you were going to make.
Like I said, it's just really a case-by-case basis, because there are some instances where if a white, let's say for instance, Straight Outta Compton, right, a story predominantly about NWA was written by two white people.
Yes.
So would we consider that, especially since they wrote it, But I feel like Dr. Dre and the remaining NWA people had an input in the script, some kind of input in what was going on in the script. But what do y'all think? Because I don't know, because it's always a tricky subject. Like, you want to say yes and you want to say no, but at the same time,
I think that with Straight Outta Compton, because I know, I remember seeing Straight Outta Compton, and one of my main takeaways from it, without knowing this, was I felt like it was unlike Notorious. If y'all remember Notorious, it felt like a balanced it felt like a balanced retelling of these instances. It wasn't a glorification of one individual or another. It showed their collective highs and lows. But I will say that when it comes to stories like that about actual, Black celebrity, I feel like that is another wrinkle in the conversation, for the simple fact that you either have them still here or they're not here, and you're trying your best to glean it from third parties. So it's always you're never going to get 100% story. And I feel like, especially when you're dealing with white writers, going back to holding themselves accountable, when they're dealing with the real life individuals or someone close to the real life individuals, how much of their word are they taking at face value versus their own mindset? I feel like that is something that is also a thing in there.
That's true. Yeah, because once again, we'll get a Green Book situation. If not, I think we, I'll be the one to say it. I think we need to be a little more gatekeeping. I think we do. Look at respect.
Right. It was written by the same one who did Thelma and Louise and Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood. Yeah, she wrote it. And it's always, this subject is always iffy. Like, do we consider, like, The Color Purple, like Steven Spielberg directed it? So do we, huh?
I said,
you said it.
because you're right on the money. Because
people considered The Color Purple, but at the same time, it was based on a Black writer's story. A Black writer wrote the book, so it's like.
But it was a white director,
right?
So it's like.
And I'm gonna throw it to Mike because I want to know his opinion on it. With The Color Purple, it's like that is like the biggest example of like a unique situation, because The Color Purple is a original Black piece of Black piece of art, media, whatever the word you want to use for it. And then Steven Spielberg comes in and he directs it, and there's going to be changes, movies to book, is most movies based off of books are rarely 1-to-1, but he did win Academy Awards for it.
He didn't win any.
He didn't.
No, he didn't. Oh yes, you're right. My bad. You're right.
Any.
They weren't gonna let him win.
Not for that one. Not for that movie. They weren't.
You're right, because that's one of the great movies that did not win an Academy Award for anything. Absolutely. Right. But yeah, that's definitely a unique situation. What say you about this, Mike?
I'm actually interested in this question right here. Your dad said, he said, if any of you can improve on today's Black media, what would it be?
Oh,
I want to talk to the qualified people real quick.
Okay, so let me go improve on today's Black media. What would it be? My improvement on Black media, and I've screamed it from the rooftops, and I will always scream it from the rooftops, and that is they need to kill with a shotgun, not behind the shed, but where everyone can see it, the stupid age dichotomy of the age, cultural, generational divide that has existed in it, because I feel like, and it goes two ways, when you're dealing with fiction, you want to create something that inspires not just people from a creative standpoint, but from a cultural standpoint. So if you create something where instead of having the grandparents who live in the house with their children and their children's children, and they're having cultural generational clashes because the grandparents, because this is 2022. So that means that these grandparents would have been born in the 70s and 80s. So they're looking at it from I'm looking at, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s and things like that. And then you have these newer parents that are parents because they had their kids in the 90s and early 2000s. So they're looking at it from this standpoint. And then you have the people who were born in the 2010s and whatnot. I feel like instead of trying to come up with arbitrary reasons for them to be at their throat or misunderstand current trends, I feel like we need to start normalizing them being open to new ideas and situations, not in the cringe. Oh, I'm on the TikToks, and don't you know we're doing the retrograde? And you mean renegade, Granny? Yeah, that's what I said. God, please don't take that line. Please don't use that garbage line. Don't like that's y'all know I give out good ideas for free, but please don't put that in y'all's show. But basically I want it to be like, if a child comes out as bi or queer or something like that, have that be understood by the family, have that be create the new normal. Like folks said, the Cosby Show created the normality for their family, or Jay said earlier, all of us in the one-on-one shows like that created the normal for their family. Have these families create the new normal of understanding, of closing the generational divide, have that happen. So that's how I would try to improve black media, because the days of the grandparents not understanding the parents and the parents not understanding the kids, but the kids understand the grandparents. But that is played out to me, and it's time for a change, and it's time to start.
Thank you. You just called out the Proud family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's an example of hyperbole by design. And I cannot get mad at that, because it is meant to be that. You're supposed to go, well, this is a little bit exaggerated. If you take that away from the Proud family, it ceases to be the Proud family. So those things like that serve a purpose. But when we're talking something that's meant to be viewed in a more realistic viewpoint, I feel like that is where you start off, and then you can start going in the natural direction from there.
So you're saying like less stuff like All in the Family plots, like less stuff like that.
Well,
with a black lens, with our own black creativity.
Like that show that came out a while ago. I cannot remember the name of it. It was Jay something. It was basically All in the Family. I forgot what it was, but yeah, I get what you're saying. And stuff like that.
Y'all got next?
I would say, there's this trend right now, which is great. It's a trend, like the millennial trend of a group of millennials coming together and, pretty much talking about social issues, like stuff like that. But what I would love, and it's actually kind of going on right now, is more genre bending, like getting out of the box and focusing on different genres in black media. Like we're getting there. Like it's slowly happening. Like comedies like Abbott Elementary, supernatural, like sci-fi, like Raising Dion, like out there comedies like Insecure. Like we're getting there. It's just taking a longer time to get out of the genre box.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I would love to see is that. Like I want to see, maybe a focused black period piece like Downton Abbey. Like I would love that to show the different types of like, and discuss colorism. Like, the lighter skinned people are the ones owning the house, but the dark skinned people are the ones working in the house, or vice versa. Like just discussions that need to be had, but through a different genres and stuff like that. I'm like, I love all types of genres, and so I would love to see us get out the box of that, mode where we just sit down and talk about stuff. Like I want to see more.
I want to go back to this comment that Raya made about, I want to see more on-screen conversations about gender and race between cross-generational characters. I want to see tears and anger and breaking things, destigmatize black rage in media. I definitely agree 100%. I feel like if serious things happen, the one thing I can't stand is when things in media, black media specifically, when they choose to be either one thing or another and refuse to be both or go in a direction. Like the biggest worst example is The Game. How The Game went from comedy to the worst drama I've ever seen in my life because of the whiplash that they chose to make for no discernible reason, because whatever the fuck the case may have been. I feel like I swear to God, it bothers me because The Game was on the precipice of continuing, if not ushering in, a new age of black sitcom, and they just said, let's just make it a drama. Let's make the two main characters insufferable and just keep making them have dumbass decisions with poor resolution, and just like that's what I want.
Poor resolution or poor?
Both. Poor resolutions. And I feel like, imagine how powerful it would have been if Melanie and Darnell, when they were going through it, they had combined the family. Like, okay, you got the kid, but you know what? It is what it is. And actually show a black man, especially as an athlete, because look at Russell Wilson and Sierra, have a black athlete go, I was wrong, have him earn the trust back of Melanie and have it stick. And then the core of the family, and help Melanie start, giving Melanie the confidence, showing her that she's worthy and that this wasn't on her and anything. All of the characters in that show had such a recipe, like had a great recipe of addressing their insecurities and having them overcome it. And then they just said, we're just gonna have them drown in it. We're just gonna have them drown in it for over a reboot, a revival. We're gonna bring Brandy in. Then we're gonna rebrand it too.
And Q, you make up a good point. And this is, I think, also a subject they were talking about too, is it became mediocre. Like, we can't afford to be mediocre. So look what happened. It got off the air. We literally can't afford to be mediocre. When we make something, we have to make it pop. Because if it doesn't, they will give a reason for it to not exist on the air anymore.
Right. And I want to, and like when we say, because we've brought up black mediocrity before, and there's a difference between if you're a creator starting out and your first project is a little rough around the edges, versus you setting out to make something subpar under the guise of creating a floor for people to inhabit, rather than teaching them to keep going higher and higher and breaking their limit and just keep going with their first idea. Not saying that your execution is always going to be perfect, but there's a difference between me executing my dream and learning from that to keep executing it, versus just doing the most bare minimum and continuously doing that. So others can be galvanized to do that, when that is absolutely not the wave. So do we want to jump into some black mediocre projects, media?
I mean, let me just start off with let me start it all off with this. One to back it up real quick, to fix the things that I want to see within black media, we have to be behind the scenes. We have to be the ones with the power to green light stuff and to produce stuff and the direct stuff and everything. Like, we have to be everything. But let me just start off the mediocre topic with I think a lot of people, what I've heard many times from some people who really don't know what they were talking about, honestly, is like, we deserve, as black creatives, we deserve to be mediocre because our white counterparts can have, all these mediocre projects and be mediocre in the media and all this stuff like that. That's not acceptable. I think
at all.
If you look at the history of us, within this country, like even outside this country, for a lack of a better word, we excel in, we try to excel, and I'm pretty damn sure we do it every single time we do something because we want to see the best for ourselves. And I think anybody, it doesn't even matter what, race, I think everyone should strive for their absolute best, because if you have, this mediocre mentality, like, you're not really getting anywhere. You're seen as a joke. And I mean, not to pick on them, but you look at like blaxploitation films, you look at, it's still a joke. It's still considered a joke, even though these are people who are pouring their hearts out with storytelling. It's still considered a joke to this day, because it's like, ooh, we get to wear, the clothes, we can call somebody a jive turkey motherfucker and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's not what it was about. But that's what happens when people see it as mediocre.
Right. And I want to, before I go into a specific example, I just want to pick up on that particular part and say that those movies, yes, they were made and it looks low budget, or, they didn't have the backing of major studios, but that wasn't because they wanted, that wasn't because they wanted that to be the aesthetic. That was what they had. And those, like you just got done saying, Aaron, they wanted those stories out there, not because they thought they were mediocre or anything like that. They wanted those stories out there because they thought those were good stories. Those were unique stories. And I look at blaxploitation as like, those are Black superheroes. Those are Black comics in real life. And y'all know this, comics are some ridiculous shit that only work because you have one or two, maybe five people who wrote one of those characters really, really well and had a lot of themes in there that resonated to the demographic. And the beautiful thing about blaxploitation is that for its time, it's so unique. For Black folks, I don't know how to just describe it, that when it's very easy for Black folks' serotonin button to be pressed and then experience joy. It's very easy. And when we see things that resonate with us, we immediately gravitate to it. And I do genuinely believe that blaxploitation gets, a bad rap because people will look at it and think it's not high quality. But in reality, blaxploitation to me is no different than Bruce Lee films or, any other type of cultural specific genres of film. Western, but they're just focused on a Black story. Is in all of Bruce Lee's movies, he's just whooping all the ass. I mean, obviously Bruce Lee could whoop all the ass in real life, but he was whooping all the ass to an absurd degree in all his movies. And so, yeah, Dolomite could be whooping all the ass too. Foxy Brown, Black Dynamite, the list goes on.
Oh, Black Dynamite, my favorite.
Anaconda malt liquor.
Oh,
Donut don't wear gators. Which one of you jive turkeys? Ooh. But to go back to the specific piece of mediocre Black media before I absolutely forget. Them Lions, boy. Them Lions. Lucius and Cookie and all of them.
Okay, let's get into it.
Wait, y'all didn't like. Wait, time out.
No, he said
He died. Wait. Because Empire was good. Now don't.
No.
So let me
First season was good.
Let me get this out the way.
Y'all full of it.
Now, when he had the dreads, I lost it. I'm sorry. When they
let me just get this out the way so it don't make it seem like y'all are like I'm having Avia and Aaron be on my side, because I want to be very specific about why I say this. Empire, fantastic idea on a conceptual level. It's a Black soap opera. It's just that simple. It's a Black soap opera to the nth degree. The problem is that Lee Daniels, there's never been a Black creator that intentionally switches the knob to Black mediocrity as quick as Lee Daniels. So you have a concept like Empire, and instead of treating it like a Black soap opera, you have a situation where they treat it as something serious while consistently proving otherwise. And instead of leaning to the more ridiculous aspects of it, it's like The Butler, Lee Daniels, The Butler. If you've seen Lee Daniels, The Butler, you know exactly what I'm saying when I say this, because framing a movie around a butler being in a bunch of time periods where it's not, black men were looked down upon, and shoving in a bunch of identifiable black folks does not make your thing great.
Because she didn't play ball. Because she did not play ball.
And like, again, I mean, I can go to the movie that framed her to say this too as well. But I'm just gonna stick on Empire for a second and say that instead of just going for Hail Marys, and the show did a lot of ridiculous shit, don't get me wrong, but instead of going for a Hail Mary where it's something that folks will still talk about as something so utterly ridiculous, but something so apologetically unique, nobody talks about Empire no more. Nobody thinks about Empire. Folks couldn't even tell you what the last episode of Empire was.
Oh!
And that's because
I was watching it every time.
And that's because
we had to wait, man. I'm sorry. Some iconic lines, some iconic scenes. I'm sorry when Cookie Punch, when she threw that damn drink and what's her name? Bah!
She was the one who saved the show. Taraji was the
Taraji hands down is like the MVP of this show. Like it's like hands down.
Yeah, because Taraji, because there's no
mediocrity from Lee Daniels though.
Yeah, because there's never been an actor. I'm not even going to split it. There's never been an actor who can literally burst out of any situation better than Taraji P. Henson. Taraji has a anti-mediocrity barrier where even when she's in an objectively mediocre project, you can never say that about her, because for some reason she got blessed with the power and the spirit to make anything and everything she does iconic.
Yes.
AKA she's an outlier, so we can't really give her Empire no flowers because that's just Taraji doing her thing.
Like with acrimony.
Especially with acrimony. Why did you look at my face? Y'all talk about y'all give other specific examples of black mediocrity.
Lee Daniels. Lee Daniels equals mediocre because what his problem was with Empire was one, I mean, having a lot of white writers. Season 1, I forgot, but also basically stealing the entire plot from Dallas and trying to rework it and not having any of the more creative aspects from Dallas. You could have easily had Lucius be a JR and you didn't. It was kind of lame.
So I will say that
tomato.
I'm still mad that he took Star away because Star had great potential.
Yeah, potential, but he's too mediocre.
Right.
It wasn't mediocre enough for him.
Yeah,
said,
and my biggest problem, just to pick on Lee Daniels, because man, I forgot about. See, you brought a whole lot of emotions back about Empire. My biggest thing was Lee Daniels never took that chance. He kept championing Jesse's character, and at the end of season 1, I man, if we had talked since that, I would have swore up and down his character was going to be the next Lucius. They were going to have Jesse be like this, Dark Knight, kind of character where he's doing good things, but he's doing it all for the family, and he's the son that Lucius didn't want to deal with, but he's the one who's most like him. I thought they were going to go there and make this interesting story, but Lee Daniels do what he always did, and he played it safe, to keep up with, the movers and the shakers who were the investors who were not of the same hue as him. And, you got I just keep thinking of that thing with Lee Daniels getting shook down by
that. So what you're saying, Aaron, is that it didn't help anyone that they kept resetting Jesse's character every season to tell the exact same story arc over the course of an entire
that's the
season.
same. It's the same shit he did with Precious, and I think it was, the acting was amazing, but it was mediocre. It was the same story that we've seen, since the 80s. Like you could literally look in a newspaper, clipping from 1990, whatever, and you would see this exact same story. There are people with, families with the same thing going on, and I'm just like, he told a very mediocre story in a beautiful way. It gave me Euphoria vibes. There we go. I said it. But if we're gonna pick on some more mediocrity, I mean, let's talk about Tyler Perry and them wigs for a minute.
Oh, that is so.
How you got $1 billion and you doing that?
Like I want to say that with Tyler Perry, never has somebody who had a concept that resonated with so many church folks resigned himself to be as mediocre as possible when he got the bag. I would argue that his first 3 plays, Diary, Family Reunion, and I Can Do Bad, I can say that those are legitimately great plays that, really like that Black experience, going back to it. Then they said, hey, bruh, man, you want to make some movies? He said, word? Then he gave us with the first 2 movies. I ain't gonna stun on them. I ain't gonna, those are iconic. We all got the Cicely Tyson memes when folks be acting up on the TL respectively. We all got it. You know what I'm saying? Grit ball. But the more Madea became a household name, the more the mediocrity began to shine. And the worst thing in the world was for that to happen, because then Tyler Perry felt the need to be the Black gatekeeper, right? It's no secret that Tyler Perry, despite all of his success, still makes the decisions to be the only person to write everything that he ever works on.
I was just about to say that. How can you have a show called Sisters and not have a single Black woman in the writer's room?
But wait, Medea's in the writer room, Avi. Medea's in there.
You know what? Can I really go? Are we really gonna go there? All right,
go there.
Am I allowed to really go there? I mean, Mike, I'm gonna have to throw this to you after I say this.
Already, I feel like I know what you're about to say, because that is what I was gonna bring up, because I actually saw a TikTok about him.
Okay, this is what happens. This is what happens when you have a man who basically steals an entire act from a drag show in Houston, in the early 2000s, late 90s, and thinks he can get away with it. I'd be like, what was her name? Miss Sophia? Need some retribution for that. I think that's where the mediocrity stems from, when you steal from other people and then you finally have a chance to go out on your own and you show that you don't have it. Mike, take it away, because
I saw a TikTok the other day, and it was talking about it was a specific episode where the Boondocks had and basically exposed him or whatever. But my thing is that even though I've watched it and everything, it's just so funny how people would go up for him. This man that's, dressing as a woman, that's doing drag, and, the church goes up for it. That's all I got to say.
I just
love Miss Madea,
They love Madea, and like I said, the fact that he took it from a whole drag performer.
Right. Should have took Madea on a drag tour. No shade, just saying.
Wait, Mike, I'm gonna send you some.
Like the song in the Boondocks episode is literally it's a riff on Rocky Horror. It's called "It's All Right to Cross Dress for God," and it's like, I remember watching that episode and I'm just like, he's just like, it's the way that he takes advantage of the systems that he get put in and just produce mediocrity. I'll never forget when they were breaking down the Tyler Perry movie formula about he was like he has the dark-skinned Black villain and as black and as bald as I am, and I like in that whole sequence, and then how the light-skinned savior comes in, and it's like, damn, that is exactly what it is. Like, it's something that is it's literally something that, damn, it's just so it's just so sad and terrible.
Yeah.
So my next, I guess I can ask this to make it a little bit more broader, and that is, what is the best way to call out black mediocrity?
Oh, I got this. I got this. The best way to call it out is if first of all, hire more young talent. That's number one. Hire more black talent, young black talent, because those are the people who have the ideas that you are looking for. Those are the people with the ideas that you want. So don't turn them away if they have something for you, but don't be surprised if you turn them down and somebody else picks them up and they skyrocket.
Facts.
And also, the way to fix black mediocrity is to get out of that crabs up a barrel mentality.
Please.
Yes.
So like, just when someone makes it because they do great work, that doesn't mean you have to drag them down or drag yourself down in order, to feel good. And the way to do that is to do what all these other studios are doing, like the sense of being there. Like, it'd be great if, because there are a lot of black actors, producers, directors who have production companies, right? But they don't have a legit studio space. The only black person who does is Tyler Perry. He's the only one who actually has, like, correct me if I'm wrong, let me know. But he's the only one, I think, who has like a legit studio. Like, Warner Brothers Studio, Disney Studios, Universal Studios, actual like studio lots to film stuff on. And
he should have saved that money so he can get them some high tier wigs, but
and so I think it would be great if like a lot of if a lot of black directors, producers, actors put their money together and actually started building studios so that they can have black heads of these studios, so that these studio spaces, so that they can start scouting out that young talent. And they don't have to go through all these hoops of red tape that they have to go through in order to get something made. Like Aaron said, and like what I'm going to say when we get to this documentary, that green light has power. That green light is power. Green lighting is power.
Yes, that green light is fucking power.
People forget.
Yeah, that's what. And also expand your horizons.
Thank you.
Like don't just watch every single genre, every single thing that you can get your hands on. Learn about different things. Like, always be a student. That's how I think. Always be a student. Don't always think of yourself as a teacher. Always be the student. Always be willing to learn something. Always be willing to take a chance and do something unexpected. Right.
Because sometimes the professor don't know what she's talking about.
Yes, it's easy for those. I feel like it's easy for folks to try to put themselves as a leader, but sometimes it's better to put yourself as a teammate.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's the only way you'll learn from somebody else, is if you put yourself in a teammate position. Some things don't require a leader, a professor, a teacher. Some things require a brother, a friend, a teammate, a compatriot. So therefore we learn from each other better.
Right.
So,
but false black camaraderie has to cease. Like, false black camaraderie and this fear of, I'm going to get left behind, or they're going to do something better than me, so I have to bring them down. That's what has to stop first, because in my opinion, one of the biggest detriments in black media, on all accounts, because you can just look at the timeline with D-Ray and Sean King right now, like, it's this It's this tribalism where it's like, no, I have to be better than this person, and if I'm not, I'm going to destroy you, on my way up, because if not, then I'm going to be, blah 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 blah, and all this crazy stuff, and they're just convinced that I have to destroy the people around me, because there is no Black camaraderie until I'm in front of the camera. Until I'm getting the the pictures, or I'm on the streams, or I'm getting that interview or whatever. Like, that has to stop, because like David said, there are people who are younger than the Gen Xers and stuff, who are in positions of power, who know what works. They know what works now, and people have to accept and get out of the way. That doesn't mean that they're just cease to exist, but it just, you have to give them chances, and if you don't, then we get that, constant mediocrity, like every single time.
I'm glad you said chances, because one of the things that elder statesmen, Black folks, will routinely bring up is the importance of a resume, right? You need a resume to do this, you need a resume to do that. And while I'm not saying having a resume, to not build up a resume, what I will say is this: another thing they also preach is how white folks give chances to other white folks. How they just, with no real background, they will give them a chance. Big thing with the NFL about how these white owners are giving white coaches chances, not predicated necessarily on their resume, but because there's a kindred spirit. So what I would challenge the Black Media Entertainment Organization to do is to start taking chances on these new Black creators who have these ideas that aren't necessarily derivative of something previously instituted, but these original wholesale ideas. That is imperative to the furtherment of Black media, Black entertainment, and to not be so caught up on if this person is this, that, or the third, but rather believing in them and allowing them to create their way and stepping out on that faith. Because if we ain't got faith in each other, ain't nobody, too many people are going to have faith in us. So
I agree, because when I was pitching, I pitched something to one of them to a Black actress who has a production company, and they turned me down. That's fine, that's cool, but it's just give us just a chance. Okay.
What about my uncle? Did you give him a chance? I'm sorry. I had to say it. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
But it's but don't say anything when I'm taking this to somebody else.
Right.
I was like, don't say anything when I'm taking this to someone else, because you turned me down.
Yeah. My biggest fear rather is that you have so many, and this is just me projecting people like me into the situation. Like, you have these, like us, you have so many young Black nerds who are coming with these ideas that focus on these topics, and you have these Black institutions who don't get it, who aren't looking for it. So therefore they don't give it a chance. They don't go out on it. They're looking for something more in the vein of a empire, a power, a newsroom, a entertainment, blogger sphere, or whatever the fuck the case may be. And so they don't take a chance on this actual original idea that can be the next big thing. And it's going to always shoot us in the foot, because what you pass up on will end up in the hands of a white folk, and they'll let that Black person do 100% what they want, or worse, they'll start putting their hands on it, and it might come out, but it might not be what it was originally intended to be. And you could have given 100% unequivocal viewpoint. That's why I'm not upset at this Bel Air reboot, because Will Smith is like a chief, like he's in charge. He's the executive producer. And this started off as, and I got so pissed when I read a tweet saying that this was a parody. No, these two young black creators were legitimately putting out a more drama, realistic, grounded version of the Fresh Prince. And that was something, even though it is a reboot, that is something that can only be done well, in my opinion, in black hands, because a lot of the people that have a problem with it, they're not black. They don't understand that the whole premise of Fresh Prince is a very real and serious situation. Right. A young black man has to go across the country and move in with his affluent relatives, his uncle being a judge, so he isn't potentially murdered in his bed. That is a really fucking serious thing. And the reason why the hook of the show is that they're taking this very serious situation and making a comedy out of it. But going back to kind of what I said about earlier about the Proud Family and taking away the hyperbole doesn't make it the Proud Family. With Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, however, it never shied away from serious moments in the original series. And if you making it a drama with those same themes, but really focusing in on it, I don't really see how, and with Will Smith a part of it, I don't see how that is something that deserves to be getting the trepidation that it has gotten, especially when it's not coming from studio heads. It's coming from two young black creators who were inspired and came up with this idea themselves to go in this direction because they felt that this was something that they could tell in a new light.
So why do you think it didn't work with Grownish compared to A Different World?
Oh, because first of all, Debbie Allen was in charge of A Different World after season 1, because season 1 was very mediocre. Season 1 was mediocre. But when a black woman came into charge of the show, who graduated from HBCU, she's like, how can you be at an HBCU and not have hot sauce on the table? How can you be from HBCU and not have hot sauce on the table? Like, just little things like that made like, oh, snap. Oh.
Well, as soon as they got off of Lisa Bonet and they started focusing on the original characters, once they cut ties with the Cosby Show,
and they started really seeping into their blackness. Like, they really started seeping into their blackness and started to really talk about issues, like the Cat in the Cradle episode. Like when the season 2 was talking about the date rape episode when Freddie was almost raped by the dude she went on a date with, and Dwayne saved her. The abusive episode with what was her name?
Freddie?
No. It was season 5 when Gina. Yeah. And her boyfriend. Like the Mammy episode, like very serious stuff.
Oh man.
That was happening in the black community that they were talking about. And it's just like a different world, and like it was just something they really did a great job of encapsulating what an HBCU was like in the late 80s, early 90s, and that's why it was the #1 rated show at that time, because of how relatable it was to the demographic that they were trying to reach, and they did it perfectly. But with Grownish, as soon as I saw them do the Different World intro, I was like, no, that's not at all. Cut the feed. Like, no, y'all, you're not a Different World because you are not really
Exactly.
No.
Oh, the black Kool-Aid trying to come from Avia.
It's like every time you get really into it.
Anti-black.
Well, I'll just quickly say that A Different World was so groundbreaking that they were able to take a behind-the-scenes real-life experience and seeing Dean Cain in his natural racist environment.
Oh my gosh!
And they were able to make a very powerful episode. Like, I cannot believe that they were like allowed to show Dean Cain being as racist as he was on camera.
Yes. Well,
froze.
Oh, I froze?
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, what? Y'all can hear me?
We heard you slander Kenya Bird. And
where'd I leave off at? Where'd I leave off at?
when you said that the grownish, the different world grownish intro, said you when you
Oh,
decided
yeah.
that it was a rap.
Yeah. After they did the season for the season 2 to like what season 4 intro, done. It's like you, and I was like, this isn't right because
tomato.
Tomato. Because you're not doing. You think you're doing what Different World season 2 through season 6 did, but no, you're not. You're not. You're doing the exact opposite. You're Different World season 1. You're Different World season 1, not season 2 through 6.
I think what's funny is going off of what Chelsea's saying. The fact that this goes into both what Chelsea's saying and Avi is saying. Like season 1 of Different World was considered. It was supposed to be high ratings and all this stuff. It was safe because those were scripts for this white TV show with what was it Sarah Jessica Parker or something from some sitcom in the like 80s. And they just recycled scripts.
It was Square Pegs or something like that, wasn't it?
Some old, like because it was an SNL writer who jumped on the original Different World and tried to do all this stuff, and that was very much not for Black people. I mean, it was, but it did not feel like an HBCU. And then Kenya Barris absolutely makes shows about the Black experience for non-Black people. And I'm getting tired of trying to explain my culture to people who don't want to understand it. I'm tired of that, and I don't think we need, like I said, I think we need to start gatekeeping more and stop letting people into the cookout because it's getting old.
Yeah.
It's getting really old. Like, how many more ish shows do we need that talk about the Black struggle from whatever? Like, bricks. Like, I'm tired. I am so tired of this. I'm tired of it. And that is like some of the most mediocre shit from Black people personally, because this is something me and my dad have talked about for forever. There's this sense of complacency that once we get something, there's no more fighting. Like, yeah.
Is that why Euphoria went from a show centered around a Black teenager to Euphoria High School musical?
I'll say it like this. We got all these shows coming out. We have Lee Daniels probably going to make some other Black soap opera-ish show about the music industry. Are we going to get another show like Pose? Are we going to get another show like A Different World? Are we going to get another Insecure? We all know the answer to that, unfortunately, and we know why, and that's that complacency.
Like, for fuck's sake, give me another famous Jet Jackson for the kids.
For real, like a kid actor who's trying to balance being a normal kid and being in the entertainment industry. I would love to see.
Famous Jet Jackson, and then they can have a TV movie where he goes into they switch places in the universe, and then that is the next movie on Disney Plus. Because I cannot express to our audience how important the famous Jet Jackson is to Black media. It is literally very important, because I know from me in my young age, RIP to the actor, the main character of it,
Lee Thompson Young.
Yes, like, I cannot express to you how groundbreaking it was to see a show centered around a Black actor who was the whole gimmick was he was a regular kid who was an actor, and but you know what?
No, you said it right the first time, Chelsea. It's ass.
Yes.
Ass.
Yes,
but
but
if you look at them now, shows now, like, they just talk about the Black experience. That's what a lot of Black shows are now. Like, they're talking about the Black experience. And there's nothing wrong about talking, but we're tired of talking about the Black experience, trying to explain it to you.
Right.
Like, that's we don't have to explain it to you.
Why can't we do better than that? Why can't we show us in a high moment and see us be successful? Let's see us as scientists and astronauts and doctors and stuff like that, lawyers. Let's get in better places instead of always showing our origin story.
two things. The first is anybody out there that says, well, make sure you're supporting all of the shows that does that. My retort is not all of that stuff is not all that most of that stuff, if not all of that stuff, tend to be done mediocre. Like it's done with mediocrity in mind. It's not done in a way that is unique. It is when you try to be invested into it, it falls into too many tropey things that are either unauthentic to the Black experience or are bare bones in a sense. And all it does, it's you support it, but it's not going to get picked up because it's more or less ticking a box and it's not doing anything for it. So when we say show us at our heights as doctors and things like that, let it be creative, let it be authentic, let it be more than just the bare bones of what came before. Let it be something great. And number two, when we talk about Black voices, because there's something else, the main event. When we talk about Black voices and Black stories in the height and pinnacle, we watched over the last 2 days, we watched Screen Queens.
Yes.
Aired on ABC last night. It's
Yes,
available
yes.
on Hulu today. Want to watch it? And it is a phenomenal look at Black actresses from in the journey of the Black actress, upcoming things that the Black actresses are doing and things that still need to be done to really give Black actresses their due. So Avia, we're gonna start it off with your thoughts, not critiques because it was fire, thoughts and opinions on it and everything.
Well, as a Black woman, it really, in wanting to be in the entertainment industry, it really resonated with me. They broke it up into 5 parts. It was a career retrospective of Halle Berry. That was the first part.
Yes.
The second part was pretty much just the overall view of representation of Black women in film and television. The third part was The Color Purple, and the next part after that was Tessa Thompson, pretty much like a career retrospective of her as well as colorism. And the last part was Black women in different areas. Like there was a makeup artist, there was a casting director, there was a president of a subsidiary of MGM, Orion Pictures, and then Marseille Martin.
Yes.
Was in there as well. Now, the first part, Halle Berry. Woo. If you think of Halle Berry, you think of her as one of the most prominent entertainers ever.
GOAT.
And it really got me when she said, like, you know, I don't want, like, the beautiful, when they call me beautiful, like, it's nice, but I'm more than that. Like, I want to be known as being a mother, being a great actress, being, you know, a great human being. Like, don't just talk to me about my looks. And if you look at her work, if you look at her line of work, she's been in the film industry, TV industry for over 30 years. She has an amazing career. And, you know, she was the first and only woman to win an Oscar for Best Lead Actress for Monsters Ball. And it was just interesting when she said, you know, 20 years ago, you know, she directed and starred in Bruce, which came on Netflix like about a month or so, like 2-3 months ago. And she said 20 years ago, I never would have thought about directing. I was like, and for me, I was like, so the people around you never encourage, like in my head, I'm like, so people are never, encourage you to try something like that. And that's one thing for Black actresses, always, oh, you're just an actress. Like, you can't direct something. You also can't produce something. Like, we're finally getting out that mode to where they can, you know, do it all. Like, they can direct, produce, and act. Like, you know, it's unheard of. But I'm kind of glad that now, you know, Black actresses are, you know, they're taking the reins and they're, you know, controlling their own media. Like Regina King, like she, you know, was first known for acting, and like a few years ago, you know, she started directing TV. And then, you know, her debut was One Night in Miami. And, you know, Halle Berry's always been that person that all the young girls coming up are looking Brooklyn too. So it was great just to hear, her experience of, everything that she's been through in her career. That's my Leo sister. She's Leo. That's my Leo sister.
Go watch Moonfall in theaters if y'all
Yes.
feel
Yes.
safe enough to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta check it out. I want to see it. It looks really good.
If for no reason than to support Halle Berry theatrical release.
Mhm.
And Netflix, they did their sizzle for their movies coming out. Looks like
she's another one.
another dope one coming out. Her, Mari Hardwick, Alien Jump Off. So yeah, as well as Bruise. Watch Bruise. And
Right.
who knows?
Yeah.
Halle Berry might be in more movies this year. Who knows? She might be in movies that are prominently featured in the coming months and might be in our avenue of spaces and things that we all talk about and discuss from time to time. Though that may be a thing in some capacity, and we may be able to do those things at some point in time.
And the second part I'm going to chronologicalize, because it pretty much goes from a certain time period to now. I'm gonna say in the beginning of Hollywood's inception, Black women weren't even allowed to even be on the stage, like on the sound stage, because blackface. Like if it wasn't for Oscar Micheaux, Black women wouldn't have been seen until like the 1930s, when Hattie McDaniel played Mammy in Gone with the Wind. And back then we were always seen as domestic workers, slaves, that type of thing. And it wasn't until the 60s and the 70s where Diane Carroll played Julia, one of the first Black sitcoms where a Black woman was the center of the story, just the mom and her son, just everyday life. And then blaxploitation, Black women like Pam Grier, being like badass, just in the 90s, the Black Renaissance, where is nothing but just Black excellence. Like all the movies, if you think of our favorite movies, like we think of 90s Black movies, our comfort movies are in that area. And now, like we're getting there, where we're creating our own things. But as far as being in these white spaces, something that I realized is that Black women are always, like, if trend that I've noticed is we always have to prove ourselves to be the ally in anything that's not Black. We always have to prove ourselves to be the ally. Like we're always defensive, like until we prove that we're good people. That's pretty much when we're not creating our own, that's pretty much the space that we're in right now. Like if you look at pretty much almost anything on television that's not centered on a Black person, but there's a Black woman in it, pay attention to that. We'll see how she's always,
I was just beat me to it. Yeah, beat me to it.
You did, because he knew what he was doing, y'all. Because I love me some Monica Rambeau. But they did my girl wrong, because she's always there for Wanda. She helped her birth her children, and then she kicked her out, right? Just flew her out into the new dimension, flew her out past, and when Monica, she's discovering, what's going on, and when she finally gets her powers and she, confronts Wanda, like, hey, Wanda, look, something's not right. Let me talk to you for a second. Let me tell you what's going on. Wanda don't want to hear it. And but she goes with Agatha. She goes, instead of listening to Wanda. And I'm like, see, that's that shit. That's that shit. And then look what happened. But Monica still fought by her side. So she still fought by her side, trying to prove to be an ally.
And save the twins.
And save the twins. That weren't really.
I would have let their ass get popped. They would have been alright. They didn't exist. I'd have let their ass get
that's the type of stuff that's happening to Black women if it's not created by Black women. That I see that as the road that we're going. And I feel like if we have more Black women behind the scenes in the writers' rooms, we definitely can get away from that. But that's but that's definitely a common theme that I'm seeing with Black women in the film, in film and television. And pretty much the next part was The Color Purple, pretty much just, Danielle Brooks and Fantasia pretty much just talking about, the importance of The Color Purple. And I'll admit, like, it's a sad story, but it was there with the times, like, it was part of the times, and it was a story, that that could possibly been our grandmothers or our great grandmothers, because of how close it was. It's just back then it was fine, but we got to kind of break away from that mold now. But I think the musical is going to do that. Like, it's going to breathe new life in it. And, I'm ready to see it. Like, the cast was released yesterday and today. It looks like it's going to be fantastic. I feel like the casting is spot on.
Yes. Anything with Fantasia singing is easily a win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't take the voice away from her now.
Right. Like, she can't sing. She can sing. Like, she can sing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the next part was they interviewed Tessa Thompson, pretty much talking about her early career, how she started. But one thing that they asked her was about colorism in the film industry, and it is something that is very, very prevalent to this day. Like, you'll see it, especially in sci-fi, like in fantasy, like that. Like, you'll see a light-skinned person, female, or female, be either the center or be the love interest, or or the second character. And if there is a darker skinned character, like, they're pretty much put to the side, and they're pretty much the sidekick.
Or they're chosen if they want to do something. Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, or they'll choose a light-skinned actress to be the original or a remixed version of a traditional character, but still not give them the exact background of the iconic character, because they want to do the Barris minimum. Go ahead, Aaron. You know what you're about to say. You already know what I'm getting at.
Thor Ragnarok.
Well, not just Thor Ragnarok, but Michelle Jones Watson could have just been Mary Jane Watson.
Okay,
and even then, that was something that they made a late decision on. They could have just said Mary Jane from the Jump Street. They didn't have to wait 3 movies to even put the Watson at it. They could have just been bold, especially considering that Mary Jane was coded as a Black woman from Jump Street, but Marvel was too afraid to give Spider-Man a Black girlfriend. But that is a conversation for another day.
Okay. For how they try to make Storm light skin.
Right. The last part was pretty much like a round table type thing. Like I said earlier, they had a makeup, hair stylist. They had a president of Orion Pictures. They had a casting director, and they had Marseille Martin. And pretty much they were talking about, creating opportunities and like all the things that happened, because the hairstylist was like, yeah, like, how can you, like, I know what my people look like. How can you tell me this isn't right when I know what my people are supposed to look like? And the casting director was saying, one of she's had a run-in with the higher up who thought that she had an attitude and that she wasn't supposed to be there, but she was just being confident. Like, and Eddie Murphy gave her her shine and that spot. And if you looked at all the stuff that she's casted, you're like,
right,
that's a lot.
Sis is good. Like,
right.
Sis is good. Like, she casted Denzel Washington and Malcolm X. Like, where she, like, if you look at her credits, she pretty much did a lot of Spike Lee stuff. She did Do the Right Thing. She did School Days. Like, Sis had the credentials. Like, she was it.
That was my favorite part.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that whole setting, just being able to see these Black women in these different positions and then be able to talk.
Remember, I told you I wish. I think what's her name? The younger girl that's a producer. I wish that she, and it's no shade or anything. I just wish that she could have been able to have Naomi. I hope she gets the opportunity to expand on her works and things like that. 'Cause I feel like she's very talented.
I mean, I'll go a step further. She's in the ABC Disney family. Give her
Say it.
Ironheart. Give her
Okay.
Yep.
Moon Girl. Give
Okay.
her some. Give her any of the many young black women Marvel characters. Give her a
Yes.
brand new one.
Yep.
You know. And another thing I want to touch on, and you know, this is only for us, and I know Avia probably picked up on it, but this is only for our nerd moment. But the executive that is, and her, I'm sorry, I forget her name,
Which
of
one?
MGM and Orion
Alana
Entertainment.
Alana Mayo.
Alana May.
Alana Mayo.
Alana Mayo. She is one of the primary mover and shakers for James Bond, because those
Right.
are the people who own that entire property.
Right.
So I didn't know that a black woman was one of the chief architects for arguably the most successful stretch of James Bond films in history. And that would also explain why the James Bond films have got a shot in the arm of diversity, from Money Penny being a black woman to even with, you know, No Time to Die. You know, I like a lot of that stuff, you know, makes more sense now to me, now that I see one of the people who are behind the scenes for it, which is an example of how when we have us behind the scenes, we start to get represented more. And that can only go further and further.
And the one thing that got me was when Alana and Marseille was like, that green light has power.
Okay.
That green light has power, because now that I have there's like, yeah, Marseille is a producer, so now she can pick what projects that she wants. And that's when it's like, yeah, I can, because now I'm in a position to help somebody.
Right.
Or just Marseille was saying that, after season 1 of Grownish, like, she went to her agency and they had stacks and stacks of scripts. And so they were going through, it's like, no black girl here, no black girl here, no black girl here, no black girl here, no black girl here. Pretty much she said, showing me that there was no room for me. So I knew I was going to have to create that space myself. And I say that to say this. When I was watching this documentary, the whole time that I was watching it, there was a thought that always comes to my mind. It's, if you're a black woman in general, but specifically in this,
Oh, that's anti-black.
Oh,
You froze, Avia. We missed all of it, unfortunately.
okay, can you see me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Give it to
okay.
us one more time.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there was someone saying about that, about we need to watch out for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was saying, where did I leave off? Where did I
The
freeze
whole
at?
thing.
You had literally just started.
Ah,
like you
damn.
literally had
Yeah.
just
Okay.
started.
The whole thing.
So, did it after the green light?
Yes.
Okay. So Marseille was saying after season 1 of Grownish, she went to her agency and they had stacks of scripts. And they were going through them. They're like, no black girl here, no black girls in this, no black girls in this, no black girls in this one. So they're going through, and she's like, oh, so y'all really ain't got nothing for me. So that means I had to create these opportunities myself. But y'all are showing me that y'all don't value black women and black girls. Okay, so that's when she decided to become the youngest producer in history and, create her own production company to fix that. And I say that to say this. People won't have faith in you if you're a black woman in the entertainment industry until you've already done it. Till you've already done it, they will not have faith in you, and you have to keep going and persevere through it all. And that's pretty much what I got from the documentary, from start to finish. And like, that's something that I've always had to go through, and something I'm probably going to go through till till my last breath. And it's just, something that I just have to deal with and just keep it pushing. And if there are any Black women in the film industry that are watching this, please watch that documentary.
Please.
Please.
Yes.
Very, very good. Please.
It'll get you amped up. It will get you amped up in the best way possible, and it will get you in the mood to be like, yeah, I deserve a spot at this. I deserve it. I deserve to be here. I deserve to have whatever script, whatever move, whatever I have. I deserve. It deserves to be made because I know that this could possibly change the course of the entertainment industry if I do.
Right.
And
Facts.
I mean, my only gripe about the documentary was I wish it was longer or
Right.
like 3 parts. Because just to quickly touch on the Halle Berry thing, I think what was unsaid but was said there when she was like, I wasn't even thinking about being, a movie director. For the most part, and this still is true, and even if nobody wants to admit it, we know it's true. Black women are only given a certain point of power if they're considered desirable for white gays. That's just that's how it is, and we need to cut that shit out. That's one thing. My other thing though was that I wish that roundtable with, I'm gonna say their names, Robbie Reed, Carla Farmer, Alana Mayo, and Marseille Martin, hearing them talk, right? I only want to make this point. You had a casting director, the head of being a hairstylist, president of a studio, and a producer. I'm not being critical, but what's stopping them from getting together and making a studio? And
actual legit studio space.
Yes.
And it's that's I think that watching that taught me, the way they were all, very much there for each other. It's like that camaraderie has to be there in order for you to and the confidence for you to really get shit going. Because if not, you're gonna be walked over. And it's once again, let me quote Brother Malcolm, most disrespected person on this earth is a Black woman, and it's there's no faith in what Black women can do. Unfortunately, especially within the film industry, because, like I said, you got to go back. This is why I wish they went further, 3-part series at least, because when they touched on Hattie McDaniels, I wish they talked about how they wrote her speech for her to say she was a credit to her race. That, it's never, they don't ever get their own chance to do something or to say something. And then you have that fake camaraderie from people outside of, the pack. Right. Exactly, Chelsea. They don't give chances, but they expect y'all to do everything. And, it's you gotta be the universal mother to pull everything off, and then they want to give you your flowers, like Avia was saying. And I'm just I really do think, just watching this, it's time to legit start making our own. And I mean for real, getting our own studios. We got the production company set up. Let's get our own studios now, because
my only fear
Damien
about
knows
that,
what's up.
I do, but my only fear about that is, you see, whenever Black people get a little bit of success, they try to take it. But let's say if someone did build a studio, right? Who's to say that they won't trash it? Someone won't start a fire in it or burn it down.
Tulsa, basically do what they did with Tulsa. I mean, that's where, like I said, there has to be camaraderie. You can't have crabs in a barrel. I look at what happened with, Dorothy Dandridge and, Lena Horne. You look at the OGs, and all the hardships they had to deal with.
Because she wanted to play Pinky.
Right.
Pinky is a movie in the 40s about pretty much a passing white nurse who travels to the South to visit her black mother or grandmother. I can't exactly remember, but it's grandmother, right? Her black grandmother. And Lena Horne was a shoo-in for the role, right? She was going to be perfect for the role, but instead they gave it to a white woman.
Mm.
So a black woman or a light-skinned woman wasn't even allowed to play a light-skinned woman.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Like that's the type of disrespect that black women have always gone through, but nobody cares about.
You know,
That
and the fact
nobody,
that you can only win an award if they're struggling.
if they're struggling, like it still kind of irks me that Taraji didn't at least get nominated for her role as Katherine Johnson in Hidden Figures. I'm like that role epitomizes a smart black woman who was like the lead mathematician at NASA.
Right.
Like how, and Taraji bodied that role. Like how could you not acknowledge that? Like how could you not? Like she did an amazing job. All the women in the movie did an incredible job. But you mean to tell me that she wasn't good enough to be at least nominated for it? Like come on, man. Like come on. But yet she was nominated as in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button as Benjamin Button's mother. But you couldn't see this for her too?
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man. See, that's the disrespect that black women have been talking about. Like, look when they dropped when ABC News dropped the trailer on Twitter. Look at all the comments. Look at all the negative comments that were underneath it.
It's a damn game. It's a genuine.
What?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Can y'all
Robot.
hear me and see me?
Yeah, you kind of look. Yeah, you're kind of robotic a little bit.
Oh, never mind. If you can hear me, that was amazing points. Maybe. Well,
It's not funny.
Like I can't hear you. You sound like a robot.
He made a point. I know he made points. I know he said that Avia made points, but he's making a point that you made a point. So
Yeah.
I agree.
I
agree.
Wrap up. I don't have anything else to add.
Yes.
My connection is dying. It's an ice storm over the last 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Ice storm over the days. My connection is out. I don't know if anybody using anything else. So yeah, y'all can what we got on the docket and we can close out.
Black mediocrity gotta go. Stop encouraging it. Stop doing things. Stop trying to educate white audiences for your own benefit. Stop trying to benefit from the white gaze if you're not going to do anything with it to help your people. And don't ally yourself with black creatives, black actors, actresses, directors, producers, etc. if you talk shit behind their back because crabs in a barrel. Don't do that. That's not the way. That never is the way, you know. And every time you do that, I promise you karma's gonna come snatch you up with them ancestors. Like, you think they're not gonna do it, but they gonna do it. Like, it needs to stop. You know, not just you, who you know I'm talking about, not just you. I'm talking about like everybody. You know, it's gotta stop. You know, like, you know, it truly has to stop because you're not getting us anywhere. You know, the royal y'all are not getting us anywhere who constantly push us in this little sector. You know, like, you know who I'm talking about. You know, not just like through a name. I'm talking about all the types. You know, these people have to just either shit or get off the pot at this point because they're not helping the cause. They never have helped the cause, you know, and you're stopping talented black women like Avian Knight, and you're stopping talented black gay people like Odd Geek down there. You're stopping talented Black people who understand media outside of, modern literature, like Quamon Star G. You're stopping people like them from truly getting their message out in the world because of some bullshit crabs in a barrel. Like, it's not working for anybody. So go to sleep, Go sleep somewhere because you ain't woke.
Turn it off real quick.
Okay, I'm done.
Connection here.
I'm done.
Okay, I would just say, listen to Black women, protect Black women, and support Black women. Like,
Chelsea.
I mean, that's all I have to say. Like,
Yeah, support Black women and don't tear down Black women as a Black woman.
mhm.
Just saying, don't tear down anybody just because it's not your forte. Don't tear people down. Embrace them.
Stop queening Black gay men just to get on their good side. Yep. There you go. Yep.
I
Yep.
2-hour show.
Yes.
Yes.
It was really good. Please check out Screen Queens on Hulu. If you have not seen that documentary, please check it out. Please check it out. It's really, really good. You will be inspired. But other than that, Q Robot.
I don't know why y'all want me to get out and I sound like a robot.
Say peace.
Well, we got some stuff coming up in the future. We talk about before we peace out.
No,
What to look forward to.
Do we have
No.
things coming up?
we know we got things coming up. They'll be
Right.
ready.
Do we have MD Gaming coming up still? Is that still a thing?
Tell them
Yes.
about these folks that's coming up on our show. That stuff is indie gaming
I don't
secondary
have no more
stuff.
water. That's how I
We
know.
got some amazing Black women who are coming on this show. They don't have to know names. Just know if you love Black women and you love Moldiversity, remember Moldiversity always supports Black women despite what people want to tell you. Come watch us.
Mhm.
Robot Joe.
Come on, Robot Joe.
Because unlike others, we don't flip flop on the folks. We interview, our books to interact with. I heard that.
It's on Vero too, because we're on Vero.
Yes, I'm saying y'all didn't hear what I said, but in any case, we are Moldiversity, and we will see y'all next time. Everybody say peace.
Peace. Now there you go. Peace.
Peace. And don't get funk. Don't fake the funk. Don't fake the
Anime
funk.
style.
Don't fake the funk. I keep saying it until you hear it. Don't fake the funk.
Yes, we heard you. Don't fake the funk. We won't.
Okay.
And watch that movie, by the way.
Say it again.
I'll say, watch the movie Faking the Funk, by the way. It's really good.
Yeah, it is. Very good movie. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.